Allow your eyes to close gently. And along with the eyes, allow the senses to withdraw inward. As daytime withdraws into evening, allow the attention, the focus on the outer world to withdraw inward. Pull that awareness in. And draw the awareness to your breath. Allow your awareness to merge with the breath. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it. Simply allow the awareness to become one with the breath. The outer world will do what it will do. It'll make its noise. It'll give off its smells, its sensations. That's not your concern. Allow your attention to pull fully inward, only to the breath. Allow the body to stop moving. It may not be the most perfect position you've ever been in. That's okay. Whatever it is right now, it's fine. Just allow the body to stop moving and allow the awareness to drop deeply into the breath. If thoughts come, don't worry. Don't try to fight them off, but also don't allow your awareness to get dragged off track by them. Just allow the thoughts that come or the feelings that come, just allow them to blow across your consciousness like wispy clouds blow across a blue sky on a windy day. Keep the awareness focused on the blueness of the sky between the clouds. Keep it focused on the breath between the thoughts. If the attention wanders, don't worry. Just bring it back gently. Just keep bringing it back to the breath. And notice how with awareness, how with the attention, automatically the breath becomes slower, longer. As the awareness focuses on the breath, allow the spaciousness of the mind to increase, the spaciousness of that sense of self. As we get free from the thoughts, free from the feelings, and simply drop into awareness. Notice how that awareness expands. Gently bring the palms of your hands together at chest level and rub them gently against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Open your eyes and lower your palms. Welcome to satsang. What is spiritual intelligence? So we're all familiar with normal intelligence. We have all sorts of tests to tell us exactly where we fall on a scale. IQ tests, all sorts of other tests to tell us how intelligent we are. But what a lot of us know who have had personally in our lives or have been in the society with people who have had excellence in academic education, excellence in intellectual intelligence. What we know is that there's no connection, sadly, between your score on an IQ test or your score on any other standardized intelligence tests and your level of awakening, your experience of joy, deep joy, your experience of peace, your experience of truth. In fact, I almost think the opposite. Coming from a highly excellent academic background, it almost feels like we're handicapped, that we are so overtrained to use our brains. We're so over-indoctrinated to default to intellectual reasoning that we actually end up handicapped because we end up without that ability to feel in the heart. Our gauge, our inner gauge, is so literally almost stuck on the side of intellectual thought, intellectual reasoning. So we know that's not the highest form of intelligence. It's great, nothing wrong with it. It's wonderful for all of the science, the medicine, the math, the inventions, the innovations. I mean, all of that. It's wonderful for. It's wonderful for so much. But what it's not wonderful for is actually helping us know the truth inside. Because when we are habituated, but beyond habituated, stuck with turning to our minds, turning to our brains, turning to the power of the intellect to know truth, we end up separate from truth. See, the thinking mind has to hold everything at an arm's length. That's how it works. It's like as you start to get older and your eyes start to not be quite so good. I remember being told many years ago, long before I needed reading glasses, but many years ago, I remember somebody saying to me, "You'll know you need reading glasses when your arms are too short. When you no longer can hold the paper far enough away to be able to see it, And she was telling me how the way that she got by before she started admitting she needed glasses was when they would go out to a restaurant, she would accidentally knock the menu onto the floor so that she had this good distance between the floor and where her eyes were to be able to actually read what was on the menu. Now, we know that happens with eyes as we age, that you no longer can see things that are up close very well. They need to be at a distance. So the mind functions the same way. Sadly, you can't buy a $5 pair of reading glasses and fix the mind. The mind needs to hold things at an arm's length to be able to function. So the mind is very good at analysis. It's very good at pros and cons, profits, losses, math problems, architectural designs, anything that you can look at from a distance. The dilemma is that spirituality isn't something that we can hold at a distance. You can hold theology at a distance. You can become a student of theology. You can learn your prayers, learn your mantras, learn different languages, reciting things from scriptures, sure. But we all know reading a recipe isn't the same as eating food. Being able to recite academic, intellectual distinctions between different religions, or recite even verses of the scriptures of one particular religion, has no connection with actually how deeply I live that. Spirituality requires connection. That's what the word yoga literally means, union. That's what the Sanskrit word means, union, to unite. So the core of spirituality is union, oneness, self. So the mind can't do that. So when we talk about spiritual intelligence, we say, well, all right, so it's not the thinking mind, intellectual, what's my score on an exam intelligence. It's also not what we refer to as emotional intelligence, which is also a very important thing to have. Emotional intelligence is that which helps us understand, here's why I was so cranky yesterday. So sorry, here's why I bit your head off for no reason at all. It really wasn't about you. It's that on the way home, this guy cut me off in traffic. And even though that sounds like nothing, one of my personal emotional triggers is to feel like I am nothing, to feel unseen, unheard, ignored. And so when that guy cut me off in traffic, like I didn't even exist, it triggered all those feelings for me inside. And so I came home, and when you were on the phone in the bedroom, instead of standing at the door with wide open arms and a bouquet of flowers, it pushed me over the edge. So that's emotional intelligence. Very useful, especially if you have any interest in having a meaningful relationship with someone. But it's still not spiritual intelligence, because it's still intelligence that is rooted in this particular level of the self. What I've been through in my life is what gives me my triggers, or my holes, or my challenges, or my issues, or the things that set me off, the things I need. If we make a list of all of the things that you want in a loved one, the lists are actually going to be different between us. Sure, some of the items are going to overlap, of course, but they're actually going to be slightly different because they're going to be rooted in what I need. What do I not give myself so well that I'm looking for in someone else? So my emotional intelligence is still rooted in this particular experience, this birth, these stories, these dramas, these hang-ups, these issues. Important. Very important. Because otherwise we end up not knowing what it is that triggers us. And then you end up being one of those people for whom everyone else is the problem. Right? We all know people like that. I'm okay. In fact, I was great until you came home. I was great until you said that. You are the reason I'm in a bad mood. If we're not intelligent about our own emotions, we're going to move through the world blaming others. It's like my favorite joke of the guy who goes to the doctor and complains to the doctor that something is very wrong with me. Whatever I touch, it hurts. When I touch my head, it hurts. And I touch my stomach, it hurts. I touch my back, it hurts. So the doctor, after running every test and scan, calls him in and says, well, the good news is there's nothing wrong with your head or your back or your stomach. The bad news is your finger's broken. And since your finger's broken, whatever you touch, it hurts. But it hurts not because the problem is outside. It hurts because of the broken bone in your finger. And so emotional intelligence helps us not move through the world blaming this one and that one and this thing and the weather and my boss and my job and the traffic and my weight and like this. But spiritual intelligence, as the question pushes us into, takes it a step higher, deeper. Spiritual intelligence is, okay, I have this body. I care for it. I'm in tune with it. I know how much to feed it, what to feed it, when to feed it. I have a story, a history. I'm in touch with it. I know what sets it off, what triggers it, so that I can move through the world with skill, with love, with awareness. But I'm not either of those things. What I am is consciousness, awareness, love-filled awareness, truth permeating consciousness, divinity. That's who I am. And so spiritual intelligence is that takes us beyond any of the other forms of intelligence. Takes us into the truth of who we are. Spiritual intelligence enables us to be the one watching, the one who knows I have these emotional triggers. Right? So think about that for a minute. I have emotional triggers. My emotional intelligence knows that I have them. My emotional intelligence is aware of them so that I don't become a fool as I move through the world and fight with everyone. And then there's a part of me that's aware of that. But then, if you're really quiet, and you can keep the mind still for just a few moments laced together, you can become aware of a self that is watching the one who knows you have these triggers. So it's not watching the one get triggered. That's the one who knows. This is the one watching the one who knows. The one who knows that there is one who knows. And it's just a subtle step back. But when you can get it for a moment, it's exquisite. Because it puts you in touch with a capital K knowing. Because it's no longer you who is knowing. So I, in this identity, can have emotional intelligence. I can know my triggers. That's the well-analyzed me. The well-introspective me. But it's still me. It's just an introspective, contemplative, analyzing, analyzed, intelligent me. But it's still me. But then there's that whole other layer of just watching and just knowing. And if you can touch that, it connects you to the knowing of the universe. Then it's not I'm knowing, it's just knowing. That's when we speak about the drop merging with the ocean. Because once it merges, it's no longer drop and ocean, it's just ocean. So it's no longer me knowing. I've merged with knowing. And that gives me real spiritual intelligence. And this is where in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asks Lord Krishna, what would such a being look like? What would that yogi look like? The one in union with what we're calling spiritual intelligence, or the awakened one. And Lord Krishna gives them this beautiful description of one who is affected and impacted neither by gain or loss, neither by success or failure. It's one who knows that these are just waves on the ocean of existence. And so that's what we're going for. That's the intelligence we're going for. And academic, intellectual intelligence can be given from outside. Good classrooms, good educational environment, good materials, a bit of a good neural circuitry to begin with. You can have it. Good emotional intelligence requires humility, a commitment to honesty, courage, vulnerability, self-awareness. But it can also be something that you get a good therapist, good psychologist, even a good loved one or friend, you can do that. You can even do it on your own. But spiritual intelligence is something that only comes by diving deep within. It's not something you can memorize in a book, memorize from a lecture. That can point you there. It can say, here's where you're going. But ultimately, it's something you have to experience. And the beautiful aspect is, it's like coming home. Because it is home. It's coming back to that truth of who you are. The unburdened, unfettered, unindoctrinated, unacculturated self. So that's spiritual intelligence. Something very, very worth pursuing. Because our world is full of a lot of people with a lot of forms of intelligence, but who aren't any closer to actual awakening. And what we need is to be awake. If there are any questions here that anyone has, yes, you and then you, yes.
3 days back, we celebrated the birthday.
3 days back we celebrated?
The birthday.
The birthday, somebody's birthday, yes.
And we all enjoyed it also. But the question arises that the whole base of celebrating birthday is through the identification to this body.
Yes.
So, how can we do such activity which seems totally opposite to who we are, to do it in a way that...
Yeah, great. So, we have a beautiful satsang tradition here at Paramarth Nikethan, where whenever it's someone's birthday, we celebrate in satsang, and we sing happy birthday in as many languages as we happen to have that evening. And there's always a big handful of different countries and languages, and so we celebrated. And he said, if we know we're not the body, how can we celebrate something that isn't really the truth? So we celebrate to celebrate. It's not a celebration of the body itself. Although the body itself, by the way, is worth celebrating. Just because we aren't it doesn't mean it isn't worth celebrating. It is a stupendous feat of creation. And if you look today, by the way, at science, we've had thousands of years of scientific study. I mean, scriptures going back thousands of years are talking about various aspects of science. We've had at least a few hundred years of what you can call modern science. We can't create a human body. We can't create a mosquito. Right? Even knowing exactly what it's made of. There's plenty of scientists in the world who could tell you exactly how to put a mosquito together. Like how much carbon, how much oxygen, how much nitrogen, how those molecules bind together, the styrofoam balls and the things. And scientists could do that. But we can't create it. Cannot make it happen in a petri dish. So the body, by the way, is worth celebrating. It's a separate question. Nonetheless, it's important to mention because just because we realize we're not it doesn't mean that we don't adore it and love it and care for it. The body is our medium to interact with consciousness. When we meditate, when I talk about being aware of the one who is aware, well, on a purely physical level, where does that awareness take place? Not 2 feet outside of my body in the ether someplace. Not over there in Hunab's guitar. It takes place in my brain. Hook me up to a brain scanner, and they can tell you, we've been studying meditators and meditation for long enough that they can actually tell you now, this person has hit the peak of meditation. So here I am having an experience of uniting with the universe. And if I were hooked up to a machine at that time, the scientists, if they're good and they've been well trained, can point at my brain scanning thing and say, peak experience. Now that doesn't diminish the fact that I'm having a peak experience, but it makes us know it is taking place in my brain. So we've been handed these exquisite bodies that not only do everything physically in terms of our digestion and reproduction and circulatory, I mean, it's incredible, but also that have come fit with the tools we need to have the experience of being one with the divine. So we actually should have a holiday just about celebrating the body, now that I think about it. However, you are right, the birthday is not that. The birthday is celebrating the being. And of course, the being is not when they took birth. But you know what? Here's the thing about our human existence. We get very busy, we get very distracted, and we tend to take the easy way out a lot. So for example, if we didn't have any rituals, if we didn't have holy books from which we read, if we didn't have buildings that had 4 walls and rooftops in which we went to pray, and we didn't mark any holidays, how frequently would we actually remember to sit down and to thank God? How frequently would we remember to sit down and to connect with God? Now, in an ideal world, we'd remember all the time. In an ideal world, our temples, our mosques, our synagogues, our gurdwaras, they'd be obsolete. We wouldn't need them. The divine lives within us. The truth lives within us. We would access it every minute of every moment. We would treat everyone in our world like that. But we don't. And so we have our places of worship, those holidays, in the same way. Wouldn't it be wonderful if every moment and every minute we remembered to tell our mothers and our fathers how much we love them and appreciate them? Regardless of how much they may have messed up. They all mess up. It's part of the package. How many of you here are in your 20s? Raise your hand if your age is in your 20s. Raise it kind of high. Okay, now keep it up for a minute. Now everybody else look around. Do these look like very old, wise beings to you, or do they look kind of like babies to you? And I mention this because this is the age that most of our parents were when they were doing that messing up that we hold on to for the rest of our lives. Okay, you can put them down. They're babies. All right, raise your hand if you've got a child who's in their 20s. Okay. So, they seemed pretty young to you, I assume. All right, if that child in their 20s says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, we still feel like, no, you don't know what you're doing. Right? Listen to me, I know what's best. And it's important to remember that because that's the age our parents were, most of them, when they had us. They were doing the best they could. They were young, they were scared, they were kids. They had their own life drama they were dealing with, or not dealing with so well. But the point being, we have Mother's Day and we have Father's Day. They should be totally unnecessary. We should appreciate and love our mothers and fathers every day. We should worship Mother Earth every day when we get out of bed every morning. We should kiss this ground. Because Mother Earth gives us life. Without Mother Earth, we're nothing. We should worship our water. Worship our forests, but we don't. So we have Earth Day, and we have Water Day, and we have Forest Day. And every day should be them. Every day should be Earth Day and Water Day, of course. Every day should be Peace Day, right? Really, only September 21st we commit ourselves to peace? Every day should be Peace Day. But because we are distracted, lazy, wrapped up in our dramas, we forget. Hence we have at least a day a year to remember to tell our mothers how much we love her, to tell our fathers how much we love him, to tell Mother Earth how much we love her, and to commit ourselves to work for her, to come together in peace, to recommit ourselves to peace. And on birthdays, we use them to remember to celebrate each other. So it's not so much about the body, it's not so much we're saying, oh wow, yes, you are this body that took birth. But we're saying, thank you for giving us the opportunity to celebrate you. And so if you think about it like that, when you're the one celebrating other people's birthdays, when it's your birthday, it's an even deeper opportunity. When you realize you're not the body, then we have this dual opportunity. One, to say thank you, God, for this exquisite body. And number two, to realize, wow, I've been given this body. I have no idea how many years I have left. It's not me, but it's the only means I have, the only medium I have to experience my consciousness. Am I doing that? Am I using this body to be, as St. Francis of Assisi said so beautifully in his prayer, an instrument of thy mercy? Am I being an instrument in God's hands? And if not, no problem. It's my birthday. I can start again. So it's yet another good opportunity. New Year's, good opportunity. Mondays, good opportunity. We always like some sort of ritual excuse to start over. No problem. Sunrise, good opportunity. Puja Swamiji always says, whenever you wake up, it's morning. So if it's your birthday, celebrate. If it's not your birthday, celebrate. Yourself and others. And through your celebration, help them to understand what we love is your soul. We thank this body for bringing you to us, but what we love is your soul. Which is why, by the way, we still celebrate birthdays when people are old and wrinkly and decrepit. I mean, otherwise, really, what's there to celebrate of a body at that age? It's not like, oh, wow, what a fantastic body. Can't walk, can't pee for itself, can't do this, can't do that, right? I mean, you can't do anything. What are we celebrating? We're celebrating that the body is still serving as a container for this, or a vehicle for us to interact with your soul. And that's worth celebrating. Yes.
I think all of us are in agreement that it's important for humanity to awaken spiritually. If there was a group of very capable entrepreneurs that woke up tomorrow and asked to be an instrument to spread that awakening, what would you tell them? How would you advise them?
Wonderful. Don't worry. It's okay. I was going to try to give you a mic, but it's okay. I'll repeat your question. I just realized I actually have a cordless I could pass around. So he said, I realize that we all need to move toward spiritual awakening. And if there were a group of entrepreneurs committed to that, what would you tell them about how best to use their skills, their abilities to help raise the consciousness? It's a great question. So, I would encourage them to figure out ways, and we now have got such extraordinary technology, but to figure out ways for people to feel the energetic vibrations of other people. So we know, I'm going to just throw a couple of scientific facts out there. We know that if you yell at a plant, it grows less well than plants that have beautiful music played for them. And I mean, this was stuff that we knew when I was a kid in school because people were doing science fair projects accordingly. We know that if you yell at water, there's been extraordinarily beautiful research done, that if you yell at water, actually the molecular structure changes. That the structure of water is different if you love it and pray over it than if you yell at it or if you blow cigarette smoke on it. But let's stick with just the emotional energy for a moment. So something is going out from my mouth other than just sound waves, because it's not about volume, into the plant, into the water, that is actually changing it in a different way than if I speak in a different way. Some energy is being transmitted. And it's not just sound waves. We're not talking pitch, tone, volume. What that energy is, I don't know, but this is what entrepreneurs are for. We also know now that you can read brain waves with a machine that doesn't actually have to touch your skull. That to get brain scans, we used to actually have to hook up machines to the skull. You no longer need to. There now are machines that can do it 2 or 3 inches outside of the skull, which is extraordinary, by the way, because it literally means what you think is going out into the universe. What you feel going out into the universe. When we say thoughts are things, we now have scientific machines to show us that. Okay, so that's just the basis for it. We know that therefore there's an energy that we are transmitting of my thoughts, of my words, but the emotion behind my words. If people, through a device in some way, could tap into the energy of each other, the energy of the earth, so that, for example, you have these things that tell you how many steps you're walking. If with every step I also got a reading of the impact of how I was moving on the earth, upon the earth, and I could play with it. So if I'm moving I know, for example, if I move really fast, the thing's going to tell me lots more steps. It's going to give me an increased heart rate. It's going to give me an increased all of that. If I move slowly, fewer steps, lower heart rate. But what if it could give me a different reading of my energy upon the earth so that I could play with walking mindfully and with love and humility and even apology for that upon which I was treading, and actually see in my Apple Watch the energy of the earth change as I stepped upon it differently? What if I could walk into a room or be in conversation with someone and actually get a reading of how my words were impacting them? How many people have had a conversation where you feel like the person you're trying to explain something to just doesn't get it? Right? You're trying to be loving, you're trying to be caring, and they just keep getting it wrong. You feel like if I just somehow could make you understand. Well, what if? What if we actually could pick up the reading? So parents, as they yelled at their kids, their Apple Watch would beep. As their kids' emotional vibration changed. And they would literally see the impact of their words, but not only their words, of their energy upon people they were with. And as they hug their kids to sleep at night, they would watch the energy of that child change. Wouldn't that be extraordinary? I mean, how many of us could continue to move through the world yelling and screaming and hurting, pulling flowers off of branches, if every time you did that, something vibrated on you and you literally were witnessing the tree vibrating as you pulled its flower off? That would be the last flower you ever pulled off. Because I think so much of what enables us to move through the world the way we do is this illusion of separation. This illusion that somehow we are not connected. That there isn't a ripple impact of who I am on the world around me. So I eat what I want, I wear what I want, I drive what I want, I shop however I want, I speak how I want. And I keep moving without having any awareness of the ripple that I've left behind. But if I had a device, and of course it would have to be voluntary, so that would be the downside of it. But nonetheless, I think a lot of people would get it without quite realizing how it would impact them. It would be new, it would be exciting. Oh, I can see how I impact you, that's great. And I think that it would create much more of responsible humanity. And also, it would give us this ability, because we know that we all vibrate at different levels, but also, for example, people who do energy work, even just massage, one of the ways that they begin to tune in with the person they're working with is they align their breath with the breath of the person they're working on. Very simple, very basic. But something as simple and basic as aligning my breath with your breath puts us into an energetic sync that's extraordinary. And so if we could take that a step deeper and sit with our loved one, for example, and then with others, without speaking, without moving, without doing anything, and have this incredible way of seeing before our eyes how each of our energy shifts together, how we can align it would be fun. People would stay home in the night instead of going out to watch movies of people killing each other. I have this vision that people would sit home and with their own devices, sitting together and aligning their energies. It would be something new and exciting, other than just holding hands in a movie theater or going out for drinks. But it's something that I think, and I'm thinking as I'm speaking. I mean, this was not an idea that was in my head until you said it, but I love the question, because I think that what we need are tools that connect us. So we have tools that bring the world to our fingertips, but we need tools to remind us there's a world beyond our fingertips. Other than just the news, but an actual way of my place in this universe. What's my energetic ripple? So I've got my height, I've got my weight, I've got how many steps I'm taking, I've got my blood pressure, I've got my, zodiac sign, I've got people have all kinds of different numerological, whatever we know. But what if I knew my energetic imprint? And what if I knew that every breath I took, every thought I had was changing it? So I actually could, in every moment, be an asset to the planet. Simply energetically. So I think that would be my invention of choice. Yeah. Wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, and we'll see you all tomorrow. We also, by the way, have a beautiful yoga program that is starting tomorrow, a special Nad yoga program of the science of sound, the yoga of sound, of chanting, of using that power of mantra and of sound to unite. It's a very, very, very special course that Mataji is teaching. It's a 3-week course. So since it's starting tomorrow, I thought let me mention this. Should there be people who are here wanting to join in for that, you can connect with Sevanandaji afterwards, and he can give you whatever information you need about registering for that to start tomorrow.